This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy January. We are so thrilled to be kicking off our first in our 2022 Tompkins Mahopac Bank Power Breakfast. Today's focusing on navigating the supply chain crisis. You know, we all just need to watch the news, open the newspaper, here, wait for appliances, cars, everything else to know that the supply chain is seriously affecting our economy and frankly, our economic recovery post-pandemic, almost post-pandemic, we hope. But today we're going to hear from Westchester businesses, from our own business community, how this is a reality for the businesses that we all love, that are members, that are part of our community. And talk about a business that we love, that is a member, that is part of our community, and that is essential to so many. It's my pleasure to introduce and welcome Matthew Farrell, the Vice President for Commercial Banking at Tompkins Mahopac Bank. Matt?
Thank you, Marcia, and hello everyone, and Happy New Year. We're so happy to be sponsoring the Power Breakfast again this year. Hopefully we'll be able to meet in person pretty soon, fingers crossed for that. My name is Matthew Farrell. I'm a commercial loan officer for Tompkins Mahopac Bank. In our last meeting, if you were able to join us, I mentioned how impressed we were at the bank with the resiliency and innovation we saw from our small businesses in 2021, as business owners had to pivot in these changing times with both COVID and the overall economy. We see that trend continuing in 2022 with businesses now facing inflation and rising interest rates to go along with COVID in the economy. And we have no doubt the businesses in our community will be able to keep pivoting and withstand these headwinds. And I want to reassure you that all of us at Tompkins are ready and willing to help in any way we can. Please do not hesitate to contact us, and we look forward to hearing from you. I'm very excited to get into today's topic regarding the supply chain and its current state. I think prior to the pandemic, we took our supply chain for granted, but now we see how important it is to our everyday life. I can't wait for the panel, including our newest board member, Joseph Kenner, to share their thoughts. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us. Marcia.
Matt, thank you. And I just want to say that during the past almost 2 years now, I think every business has learned how important it is to have a very, very strong relationship with their banks, and the community banks and Tompkins Mahopac Bank. You have been there for your clients, some people who were not your clients even, to give advice and maybe are now your clients, but you really looked out for the business community and especially the small business community. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for everything that Tompkins Mahopac Bank does. Appreciate that. And Joe, congratulations to you on being a bank board member. That's fantastic. So we're going to get into this conversation, and we want it to be a conversation. We encourage you to put questions in the chat room or in the Q&A. We will get to those at the end, comments, questions, experiences. But I want to briefly introduce all of our panelists. First of all, Marina Colella, the owner of Decorating Den Interiors. It's an interior design firm in Westchester that specializes in both residential and commercial projects. And I am very proud to be a personal client of Marina Colella, who helped me redo my home. So thank you very much. Vincent Hackett, the senior project manager and estimator of Murphy Brothers Contracting. Vincent Hackett is a 30-year veteran of Murphy Brothers and is the senior project manager and estimator. Fabulous work Murphy Brothers does, and you're a great, great community group. Peter Herrero, the president of New York Hospitality Group, unabashedly always say that Sam's of Getney Way is my favorite Westchester resident, but New York Hospitality Group is a local hospitality group with 4 legs, a 90-year young American bistro, bar event space, a special events division specializing in barbecues to create full service special events from 50 to 5,000. There are 4 everyday healthy cafes located in Montefiore hospitals, and a consulting and management division helping clients identify and holistically turn their hospitality challenges into opportunities to extend their brands or sell their businesses. Welcome, Peter. Joe Kenner, President and CEO of Grayston. Yummy, yummy brownies, fabulous, but more importantly, a great, great community organization who has a solution to our talent shortage, which I'll talk about. So Joe was named President and CEO of Grayston in April 2020. Under his leadership, Grayston has delivered millions of dollars in economic impact through job placements and expanded employer and service provider relationships. He previously served as Deputy Commissioner at Westchester County Department of Social Services and spent 14 years in corporate America, working in insurance underwriting, risk management, capital markets, and sales strategy. Joe, welcome. Richard Martinelli, Today's Media. Today's Media is our partner in working with us on our membership directory, our economic development guide, and our relocation guide. By the way, there are opportunities in the economic development guide still open, right, Richard? With 35 years in printing and publishing experience, Richard is partner with his brother Rob in Today Media, publishers of Westchester and Hudson Valley magazines. He runs the custom divisions in New York and Maryland and has served for 10 years on the Yonkers City Council and 2 as City Council President. Richard, welcome. And of course, for dessert, we have ice cream. Or can we have ice cream as an appetizer, Ellen? Ellen Sledge is founder and CEO of Penny Lick Ice Cream. She's worked in the pastry line in some of New York City's finest restaurants, but also wanted her own business. And as we were discussing before, she is a real entrepreneur and does everything that's necessary. She took the leap with Penny Lick in 2013, hasn't looked back. She's a self-proclaimed food nerd and is constantly either taking courses in food science at Cornell University or running around in her test kitchen, and her ice cream is unbelievable. So we have a great, great panel that really comes to us with different perspectives. So let's dive into the supply chain crisis. So Marina, let's start with you. And we've encouraged, if anyone has comments on the panel, to please jump in also. But Marina, how has the supply chain issue specifically affected the design industry?
Well, I have to say it was a very large impact for us in so many ways. Some was COVID related, but then there's been some natural disasters that also increased the lead times with the seat cushion issue. So it's across the board, whether it's fabric coming from overseas, whether it's manufacturing in North Carolina, because a lot of the furniture is made in North Carolina and they have very low vaccination rates. You know, the plants are opening and closing just because they had an outbreak of COVID. There's a truck driver issue as well. A lot of people did not go back to work, so you could have products sitting on a truck and taking maybe 2 months to come up north. So there has been a lot of shortages just across the board. And I just try to be very direct with my clients. Eventually they will get it. It's just going to take time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's what it takes. It takes time, but certainly as a professional running your own business, if things are delayed, there's delayed payments, there's more time with the client, it costs you more to run your business. So how have you adapted to this new supply chain challenges?
Well, I have to tell you that some of my vendors really came through, because one of the things when you're ordering custom is you would pay up front for it. But you're not getting it until 30, 40 weeks later. So it becomes a cash flow issue from a business owner perspective. And I have to say, some of our vendors really are not charging us upfront, knowing that things are just taking longer. Usually it would be an 8 to 10 week lead time, and now it's more like 6 months. So that was one of the first things that started getting renegotiated is payment, because I'm not going to receive payment until I completed the job. And the job is not taking 3 months, it's taking more like 6 to 12 months. So that's been one change.
So Marina, how do you work with your clients that certainly are frustrated? They might have planned, I don't know, a new baby coming or a Thanksgiving dinner or something with a new dining room table. You know, how have you adapted to those new supply chain challenges?
Well, there are some that still have, it was heavy in the beginning, and now product is kind of flowing. So there are things that I do have in stock, but I'm pretty upfront with them. I'm just trying to be as direct as possible and transparent. So there's no, miscommunication. But the other thing that I miss is the wow factor. It's like, oh, great, we got an end table and a coffee table. Well, that's not like having the whole living room done at the same time. So, I'm constantly having to reaffirm these are just pieces to a bigger puzzle. And the finished look, you just have to be patient for it. It will come, I promise you, and just being very direct and upfront with them. And then they could make just wise choices. And then on the renovation side, kitchen renovation, I'm telling them, don't do anything with the kitchen until you have your appliances or in your garage, because it's just, dishwashers, some dishwashers are like a year. They got into some kind of insulation issue that's not approved in New York and had to go through approval. So you're not seeing some dishwashers for like over a year, and you're like, okay, so you're just planning the best we can with the situation at hand.
Do you find that with appliances, especially, I'm not an expert in this, but is the supply chain crisis because of microchips, because so much of it is electronic at this point and automated?
Yes. In the higher end, yes. There are some good lines like Wolf. They don't tend to overcommit. So if they say it's going to ship, they do have it ship. It is a long lead time, but at least you get it. And then some of them just like, don't expect it anytime soon. And you're like, okay. So with the renovation, especially with a kitchen, because you need it to operate your life, I'm just telling clients to wait until some of the material is in before you start taking your kitchen apart, because the turnaround time is not what it used to be.
And so Marina, looking ahead to 2022, what are your predictions for 2022? I think I'm going to ask everybody that. So if you can think about that, that would be great.
I think it's going to be like this for a while. I just think that we're going to be riding an up down wave, a lot of shutdowns, and a lot of just the minute the COVID outbreak happens, things shut down and then reevaluate. So I think this is going to be here for a while.
Okay, so if anyone is fixing up their home or their commercial property, you have to be patient. You have to wait a while, and I'm sure it will all catch up, but it's going to take time, right? The supply chain crisis has taught us all that things are just going to take a little bit more time. And so, Vincent, moving to larger scale actual building of commercial properties, building of homes, what types of materials have increased in price due to this situation? How much more is it costing people to build that beautiful new home, or the golf course, or all the wonderful things Martin Brothers does?
Oh, good morning, everybody. This supply chain issue has greatly affected our business, and we've had to do a lot of moving and shaking to switch things up. Basically, all construction materials across the board have gone up, some through the roof, some up 20%, some up 40%, some up 300%, and some up 600%. It was really bad, and then it started to loosen up about 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago, and then Omicron came along and basically put the fear of God in everybody else again, and I don't know whether it's been gouging or whether it's actual supply chain issues, but things have started to go downhill again, or have been going downhill for the last 2.5 weeks. Whereas we started to see products like plywood start to come down from historically ridiculous levels. They are now on their way back up, as with regular standard framing material. One thing that has not fluctuated and it's only gone up and continues to go up is the engineered building materials like the LVLs and the microlams and whatnot. Like Marina stated, the appliances are just absolutely ridiculous.
Vince, I'm just going to stop you here. What are LVL micro lamps, just so that we all know?
Those are engineered structural components that you use to build houses and buildings. It's like your floor joist, your roof rafters. It's not just a piece of wood that's sent through a saw. It's an engineered, fabricated structural component.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay.
So yeah, the appliances, we're doing 38-unit apartment building and ordered our appliances 8.5 months ago. And we're still waiting for some of them because of the whole computer chip issue. Once part of those appliances were actually released, we expected, okay, we'll have them in 2 or 3 days. Well, 2.5 weeks later, they showed up because of the transportation issue. So things seem to be compounding themselves. And a lot of the things that we're dealing with now, I would have never guessed 2.25 years ago that COVID would have affected the industry this way.
So the transportation issue, can we delve into that a little bit? Is that because of lack of truck drivers? What is it because of the ports? What does that have to do with?
A little bit of everything. The ports, there was a lot of splash from that one freighter that got stuck in the canal, and that created a lot of media buzz. And the ports are a complete mess, but it's more of not so much getting it off the ships, it's getting it on the trucks. A lot of the factories and a lot of the ports with all their crane operators and their general help and just the materials to get those containers from the ships to the flatbeds is an issue. And then of course you have your truck driver shortage.
Got it. So at Murphy Brothers, what processes have you implemented to alleviate the long lead times and cost increases?
Well, to start with, similar as what Maria said, we have switched up what we call our order process when we are executing a job, like appliances and all the things that we know just take forever, get put on the front board. And what we actually do, depending on the contract structure of our construction projects, we will set up our payment schedule and increase our deposits. So we're literally going out and buying, say, the framing. We're buying the framing and locking it in and having it put on trucks and started to bring it to a job site even before we start to dig for the foundation. So all of that is absolutely accelerated. And what we have been seeing and have been doing is that there's a lot of people with certain products that are really problematic. There's actually, multiple builders and multiple purchasers getting together and buying in bulk and going around the intermediate guy if it's possible, and then buying in bulk and then just splitting it up and dealing with it in that fashion to try and make it work.
Very interesting. And so Vince, what are your predictions for 2022?
Well, if I could bank on that, we'd probably all be pretty wealthy. But I think it's going to end up, the end of 2022 is going to, I think we're really going to be coming out of this unless we get another 2 or 3 variants that throw us a curveball. I'm hoping that the spike that we've been seeing in the past 2 weeks is specific to Omicron, and once that starts to wane, hopefully, then those price increases and supply chain issues start to wane. It's a crapshoot for sure, but I foresee the second half of 2022 things lightening up.
Great, that's encouraging. Thank you, Vince, and thank you for the great work Murphy Brothers does and everything you do for the community also. So
Sure.
Peter Herrera, no one has been hit harder than the hospitality industry, and you really represent, as do others here, the many aspects of the hospitality industry. So what would you say have been your top values that are helping you chart your course through this crisis?
Marsha, good morning, everyone. The values that have, I guess it brought us back to our basics. It's culture, relationships, communications. We're in a communication industry. We really got back to the basics, and it's about feeding people, being there for people. If it's celebrating life, having a party, we're also taking the long view, and we've put off some construction that we're doing right now, the revamping of our building. But I will tell you, the communications with our clientele, one of our clients is Montefiore. We have 3 organic cafes in their hospitals. And the value is be there, be a listening ear. Do you have my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner? They're not coming to us because we have a great salmon from the Atlantic Ocean. They're coming for dinner. We are, by definition, the restaurant business is a respite. They come for an hour, a half hour to relax, take a deep breath, and not be hassled. And we're kind of fortunate. It's an attitude of gratitude that we all have. We're a listening ear. We're a bowl of soup. We've had people that have gotten very, very upset. You don't understand. We listen, and we have a funny sign in our office that says cook, dishwasher, bartender, barista, therapist, all the things that a caterer and restaurateur are. The values for us have been our guide. And it's true with our vendors also, the communications, that openness. What's going on? Let's just talk about solutions. We could talk about the problem all day long, and there's a long list of all our problems in our society and the supply chain. But what can we do about it has been really our saving grace. How can we serve our clients? At one point, we had tractor trailers in our parking lot because we went from being a caterer, restaurateur, cafe operator to doing meals for hospitals, for the employees. It was a different business.
So, what you're saying, Peter, is that there's no supply chain shortage of being kind and being there for your clients. I could tell you one day, we had a family health issue, and I was feeling really down, and I went into Sam's to have a delicious bowl of soup, and along with it came a big hug, and that means a lot. And that again, there's no shortage of, if you do it the right way. Of course, a healthy hug with masks on at that point. But the reality is, Peter, that inflation is happening everywhere in the double digits. So how are you controlling your costs?
That's a real issue with us. And it's just not on the food and beverage and supply side. It's also staff. Again, it's the attitude. We look for the solution. We don't have to outrun the economy. We just have to serve our clientele. We have changed menus, streamline our services, our hours. Streamlining our menu and our services and our dishes have been critical in survival. And people are upset. I stopped by and you were closed. No one's at work. They're all working from home, so we're not serving lunch. But you always serve lunch. I understand that. I do. Changing our hours was phenomenal. It really, really did. It gave our staff a break. We've changed our menus. Some things we just don't carry anymore. It's just not cost effective. And I ask my clientele, when this is all over, and it will be over, this too shall pass. I'll have it waiting for you. I'll have your favorite dish waiting for you. But right now, this is survival. And you know what? We're going to thrive through this and be there for everybody. Everyone's going to remember who was there for them.
Absolutely. And I have to say, your business definitely has. So let me just combine the predictions for 2022 into what are you doing to prepare for the next supply chain disruption? Or do you think we're going to be okay?
We're all entrepreneurs. We're looking for the solution. And this is, in turbulent times, it's when the entrepreneur really steps up and shines, because we're crazy enough to come up with the off the beat solutions. We will have supply chain. If it's supply chain, if it's staff, if it's computer, if it's internet, we will have it. Our new design of our building is incorporating that. We have more storage space, more flexible space, refrigerators that can go from refrigeration to freezer, how we load, how we don't load. We widen one of our doors so we can get a delivery at 6 o'clock in the morning with a pallet right into our building. It gets dropped. We have no contact with our delivery guys. They drop, the tractor trailer shows up, drops it off in the building. And by the time he's left, my crew's coming in. So it's going to happen. We just don't know where and when, but the future, we're designing for it. So we're going to be ready. But I can just tell you, we've learned so much through this pandemic that I feel actually that we can almost handle anything now, and knock on wood.
That's great. Well, Peter Herrero and Karen, thank you so much for everything you do, and for really being proactive thinkers and visionaries in your industry. You have survived, and you will not only survive but continue to thrive. So thank you very much. So Joe Kenner, you, one of the biggest supplies that people talk about is people and talent shortage. And at Grayston, you have an open hiring model that's able to address filling millions of unfilled jobs across the country, because you're based in Westchester, but you really have a national and even an international scope. So Joe, can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you, Marcia, for the great introduction, and for Matt Farrell for the introduction as well. I can tell you this is an interesting time, and I don't think I have to say this to this group, that we find ourselves in, where unemployment rate is at 3.9%. Yet, however, we have one of the largest unfilled positions to the unemployment rate in our history, really. 11 million unfilled jobs, record numbers of people quitting and working elsewhere, while at the same time you have people working for themselves more and more. That number has actually quintupled. It's a challenging time that we find ourselves in, but I'll repeat what I heard Suzanne Clark, President and CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, say the other day. Now is the time for bold, achievable solutions that address some of these problems that we're all having. And we're seeing it in every sector, every position. Folks are looking for labor, and there's this great shortage. The beauty of our model of open hiring that we've been practicing at Grayston for the last 40 years is we have a robust list of folks waiting to work, almost 150 folks on our waiting list. And as you know, Martian, just to explain for the folks that don't know, it's a simple, no questions asked policy where folks just have to put their name on a list to work at our bakery. And as we go through our calls and set up orientation appointments for people to work with us, that's your first day on the job when we ask you to come in, and we call you to come in. And we don't do background checks, we don't do interviews. We'll train you on the job. You get to learn the job on the job. And that is the beauty of this model, particularly at the entry level, particularly for manufacturing. And we've been doing this for 40 years. And that's the type of bold solutions that we need now, particularly in this period. We placed over 100 people in jobs last year. We hire about 70 or so at Grayston now. So we've been doing this. We have partners that have been working with us, both large and small businesses that are working with us, whether it's open hiring, where it's no questions asked, or some form of inclusive hiring, where they're focusing on particular populations, the formerly incarcerated, single parents, immigrants. Now is the time, because we're not going to grow this economy by moving folks from job to job or position to position. We're going to grow this economy by growing the labor force. And we have to start speaking to the folks that are on the sidelines and are dropped out of the game, really.
Yeah, it's an amazing results that your organization has had, and something that we are talking about more and more and more, because you know how to do this. And the employers that I meet that have partnered with you, Joe Kenner, and with Grayston, really have found incredibly valuable employees and feel good about it too. And that's great. So why does Grayston's hiring model work, especially during circumstances such as now?
And why does it work in general? And whether it's the circumstances we find ourselves in, or whether it was before the pandemic, you're getting good people. And that's the one thing that I think people need to really take note of and kind of put some of our biases aside in terms of, hiring people that we may not know anything about or not doing background checks. At the end of the day, you're getting very good people that have resolved that they want to be successful. They want to work. They just need the opportunity. And we say all the time, this is not a welfare to work program. This is not even a social services program. It does a lot of good and it's morally correct, but it's not a social service program. It's not a promise. It's an opportunity to work. And for those who have resolved that want to be successful, they want to do a good job, guess what? They'll stick with you. We've had one of the lowest turnover rates we've seen in the last 5 years, just about 30%. And a lot of our partners have seen reductions in their turnover rates, while at the same time productivity is going up. Again, you're getting good people. So the business case is the ROI that you get by hiring these people, by taking the costs and the time and the energy that you spend in really excluding people and keeping people out, and taking those same resources and investing in how do I keep people in? How do I make sure that my employees, we talk about the business is thriving, but that my employees are thriving and they're doing a good job for the organization and really at the end of the day for themselves.
It's great. Joe, let me just ask you one quick thing about your brownies. Has the supply chain affected your brownies? Making brownies?
I have to tell you, and Peter touched on it a little bit. The theme for us has really been deliberate, intentional, careful communication with all of our suppliers. Thankfully, the headwinds that we saw back in 2020 continued into 2021. We're probably going to lap another, I would say, abnormal year for us in 2020. 2021 was about the same, if you can believe that. It was a record year for us. So we saw a strong year, but challenges abound from a supply chain standpoint. But I can tell you from our supply chain team's standpoint, kudos to them, because it's really been about communication. It's really been about staying on top of our partners, developing strong relationships with them. Many times ordering things months out because we know that the challenges that folks are facing, but it's really keeping those contacts with all of our suppliers, whether it's cardboard, whether it's sugar, whether it's cocoa, so that if there is an issue, we can kind of course correct and make challenge and address the challenges as they come. The biggest challenge we've had was labor, actually, in the COVID situation. One of the panelists was talking earlier about the folks calling out. We've had to address that too. Thankfully, we have a robust list. These last 2 weeks, we've actually been calling in people. So we're hiring more people still in this pandemic, which is the other benefit of open hiring. We've got a team of soldiers ready to work for us when we need them. So it's great.
That's great. And quickly, 2022 predictions?
I would say when I hear folks like Suzanne Clark talking about removing barriers to employment, when I hear of many of our corporate leaders who want to be bolder and more passionate and really speaking out about the needs we have to address this crisis in labor, I believe we're going to get to a solution. And as I always say, Greyston stands ready to assist businesses that want to take a thoughtful approach to hiring and change their hiring practices. So I'm very hopeful.
That's great, Joe. Well, thank you for being a leader, for being a spokesperson, and for educating all, and for taking care of people who really want to work and need jobs. So thank you so much. Richard Martinelli, how have supply chain problems affected the publications of your monthly magazines, Westchester Magazine, which we love, 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 and Hudson Valley Magazine, which we love, love, love. I get that as well. And custom publications, and also 914 Inc. and others are part of your great portfolio.
Thank you very much, Marcia. And you're a great partner with Today Media, and we enjoy the relationship. And I would just say that for us, acquiring paper has been the biggest problem. The cost of paper for us has risen over 50% in the last year and a half. And just getting paper for a monthly magazine has shown to be a challenge. So that's been our biggest obstacle with the supply chain, is just procuring the paper, and then also the freight involved with it. Our freight costs have more than doubled in the last year. So that's been a challenge as well. And I've heard some of the panelists say it earlier, but I think it's just the communication that we have with our clients, being upfront and honest with them to say that we're having problems. We have a publication that we do every 4 months, 3 times a year. And they always have a remittance envelope inside for a donation. We had the paper, we had the press time, we had the delivery schedule, and we found out that the envelopes were not going to be able to be delivered until a day or two after the job was to ship. The question was, do we wait for the envelopes or we just go ahead without them? And I called the client and said, in this market, 2 days could become 2 weeks, and let's get your publication out and hold those envelopes for next time. And, you know, they agreed. So those envelopes are now sitting for the next issue. It's going to come out next month, actually. But those types of things have been challenges for us. We've had clients who have regular publications who have had to change the size of the publication, maybe by 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, but it comes down to what paper are we able to get so that we can accommodate and deliver on time. So I think the communication that you have with your clients and being honest with them is extremely important here.
And yet it appears to me that unlike others, that today's media remains dedicated, even though you have wonderful digital publications, which we all look at also, but you do remain dedicated to a print magazine. I know I have many around here, but I won't get up and look for it now.
You know, people still like to get it in the mail. Our branding logo is something you always look forward to, and people always look forward to getting Today Media and Westchester Magazine and Hudson Valley Magazine and our custom projects. But we're faced with those same challenges: buying the paper, making sure, you know, when we used to be finished with a publication, the files have all been approved, upload to the printer, we would forget about it, and knowing that the job's going to be delivered in 2 weeks or get in the mail in 2 weeks. Not anymore. We're always waiting for that phone call from the printer saying people in the bindery didn't show up, or COVID, another variant hit, and people are staying away. We just don't have people to work in the print shop to get it done. So, you know, we've been fortunate getting our magazines out still monthly on a regular basis, somewhat on time, maybe a couple days delivered. But, you know, once it gets into the system with, you know, having to be delivered and getting into the mail, you never know what problems are going to arise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so, Richard, your predictions for 2022?
I'm somewhat pessimistic still for 2022, but think we'll have a slow recovery out of this. And within a year, I think maybe the end of this year or early next year around this time, we'll start to see, you know, getting back to normal a little quicker.
We sure hope so. Well, thank you, Richard, for everything you and your company does, and thank you for being such a great partner with the with us.
Thank
and
you.
So before we go to Ellen, I just want to encourage anyone that has questions or anything to share about how supply chain has affected their business to put in the chat box. We will acknowledge it. Ellen, ice cream and your delicious penny lick ice cream is probably the most delicious part of this conversation, but we have a lot of delicious things here. So are there businesses that you've seen from your vantage point that are impacted quicker than others? And Ellen, tell us a little bit about Penny Lick, where you're located.
Yeah, let me start there. So Penny Lick is actually very nearly 9 years old, and there are two sides to our business. And one is an ice cream parlor and a fleet of push carts. So the ice cream parlors in Hastings on Hudson, and the push carts are anywhere someone hires us. We're often alongside Peter's barbecue business, and my staff and his staff barter with each other for food. My staff are always delighted when they run into Peter's staff. The other side of our business is wholesale manufacturing. Both of them are in Westchester County, and they are two very different businesses that have run into a lot of the same supply chain issues and manufacturing problems. And I have consequently run into every single problem every one of your guests has mentioned today. Just in terms of food and hospitality and beverage, we started to have problems like so many of us did in March of 2020. In ice cream, you're scooping ice cream cones, your staff are scooping cups, they are constantly flipping disposable gloves. In January of 2020, a box of 100 vinyl disposable gloves was about $2.63. And then by June of 2020, that same box was $17.99.
Wow.
They were being rationed and there was a wait list for them. We have a problem. We've always had a problem with cleaning supplies. They shot up immediately. PPE, which we needed because we were a food business, those things shot up immediately. And those prices have fluctuated a lot and not quite come back down. On the manufacturing side of our business, we can't just use any cleaners. We can't just use any cleaning products. We are an FDA approved facility. So we have to deal only specifically with things that are certified for use in an FDA environment, which limits us. Unfortunately, it means we have less flexibility than we ordinarily would. But we are also a peanut and tree nut and sesame free facility, which means we use even less suppliers than the average ice cream manufacturing business would, which means if the nut free cone company has a 9-week wait for a case of sugar cones, we're making them ourselves. We have pivoted in every possible foreseeable way. We had damage, like so many did during Hurricane Ida. We had benches where the cushions were destroyed. I'm not even replacing them because as Marina mentioned, that's a long wait. We had to replace our floors. We had to replace some joists. We had to replace doors. We had to replace door frames. Our contractors were very honest with us. They were like, in 2019, this would have cost significantly less than it is costing you in December of 2022. We are so sorry, but it's about 30% more. We have run into cost issues with paper takeout materials. And again, that was before major supply chain issues. It was simply at first the demands of pivots in the food hospitality industry, but printing is a big deal for our business. We sell pints wholesale. We have to have those printed. We deal with a Canadian supplier, we deal with an American supplier, and it does not matter that one's being printed in Canada and one's being printed in the United States. The paperboard comes from neither country. The dyes in the printers come from neither country, and both countries are having labor issues. So something that would have taken a 6-week lead time can take 15 weeks and will cost us 30 to 40% more. I think that a lot of what I've had to do at Penny Lake Ice Cream Company over the last 2 years has taken the joy out of ice cream a little. We have had to cut our offerings. We have had to cut our hours. We have staff that we are not efficiently using in the month of January, but you better believe I'm paying them because I don't want to lose them come June. We are buying dairy from a few different suppliers and we have standing orders. So we're like, we are going to order this amount. We guarantee you minimum every week for the year of 2020. And why do we do that when we don't even necessarily need that this time of year? Because they don't want to lose the relationship with the vendors. We have never been more collaborative and more communicative with our staff, with our vendors, with our clients. We do all of these things just to keep the boat in the water, as it were. I think that what I dove into most in the last 2 years were communication and efficiencies, tightening up absolutely anywhere we can. It's been a strange couple of years. I'm thrilled to say that we're still here.
You shared so much. I mean, you could teach a course in supply chain management because there are things that we don't even think about, like the dye for the printing, I mean, that's unbelievable.
From August to October of 2021, the cost of a plastic spoon that you use to eat your ice cream to go went up 325%.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible.
And I can't raise those prices insanely. There's a price point maximum for ice cream. And I can't say, oh gosh, there's a vanilla shortage, so it's a market price. I can't write that on the board. It's not a lobster roll. We are less flexible than the average hospitality industry would be.
So which businesses are less flexible than others when facing these issues?
Unfortunately, I do think that food manufacturing, anything that is absolutely licensed by the FDA. So if I can't get a hold of an extract that I need, I can go to another supplier. A lot of extracts come from overseas, but they wouldn't necessarily have the appropriate paperwork to be used in an FDA approved food product. So our purchasing power is limited. There's X amount of suppliers I have. There are other suppliers that advertise to me all the time. You can't get strawberries, no problem. We can send them to you from Egypt, but Egyptian strawberries don't necessarily have the same food safety protocols that fit into the FDA 117B rules for FDA suppliers. So I do talk to a lot of food manufacturers, a lot of dairy manufacturers, and yeah, unfortunately, we're all very much in that boat.
Very, very, very interesting. You've touched upon collaboration with vendors or even industry competitors. Does this play a role in managing these difficulties?
At the very minimum, it preserves my sanity. Being able to talk to somebody who is dealing with exactly what you are dealing with day to day, a competitor or no, it helps. You know, just in our little town of Hastings on Hudson, Penny Lick Ice Cream Company between June and July could not get lids for its milkshake cups. So I was buying them from a coffee shop down the street. Like, how much do you really need? What can we do? I've made a lot of friendships over the last couple of years, but it's been kind of a, what do you have? What can you get? How can I get this? And then there was an Indian restaurant that couldn't get cream, and I'm getting cream, but not a lot of cream. And cream was rationed 3 times in the last 2 years, which is really hard on an ice cream manufacturer. So I would try to get a little extra so I could hand it off to the ice cream, to the Indian business.
That's great. That's wonderful. And are consumers either B2B or B2C? Do you find that they're educated enough? I mean, that's one of the things we're trying to do with this webinar this morning. Again, do people, I think everybody knows there's a supply chain issue up here, but do people know that it's really affecting their ice cream that they're getting for, you know, that they're getting for dessert?
You know, there is a, I get it, it's out here, but why is it affecting me kind of mentality that honestly even happens in our house. We bought a Buick a month and a half ago. We still only have a picture of it. We don't actually have the car. I don't know when the car is coming. My husband is like, why isn't the car here? And I'm like, supply chain issues, transportation issues. And he's like, but cars? I'm like, yeah, no, everything, absolutely everything. What we constantly do is ask for patience. Our wholesale plants, they get it because they are restaurants, they are caterers, they are ice cream shops, they are venues, and they are in the same boat. I experience it more in the average ice cream store transaction. You know how I handled it over the last couple of years. Every time somebody ordered a bag, a takeout to go, anything, we had these nice little postcards made, and we spent time handwriting thank yous. That's into the bag, good. Every single one.
That's very, very important. And it really touches on what everyone else is saying. Manage, you know, being kind to your customers, being kind to your employees, having really focusing on that relationship, no matter what industry you're in. When I introduced Tompkins Mahopac Bank, we really focused on the relationship that they have with the community and their clients. And it goes across the board. That's so important. Certainly at the Business Council of Westchester, that's a core value of ours. And I think in no time is that customer satisfaction and being a little bit of that psychologist that Marina was talking about, or, you know, working with people or giving them, you know, that extra hug, either in person or virtually, whatever's appropriate. You know, it really counts now. And it's very, very important. And just being understanding and being kind. So we thank you so much. Finally, Penny, Ellen, Penny Lick, Ellen, do people do that to you a lot? Or did I do it?
Yes, they do. And I love it. But when people send me like unsolicited correspondence addressed to Ms. Lick,
yeah,
like that much.
I got it. I got that. Predictions for 2022?
I think that the supply chain issue specifically is so much more than COVID. And I don't see it righting itself anytime soon. And I do think that it will put a lot of small businesses in trouble if they don't really reevaluate how they are buying, if they don't have the cash on hand to buy more for what they need. I mean, what we learned in 2020 was that the average small business had less than 4 weeks cash on hand to survive, which is why so many shuttered so fast. I think the small businesses that survive supply chain issues, which I do believe that regardless of Omicron variant or any variant, will go on for a considerably longer time than this. I do think this is a long-term problem. I think that the businesses that survive have worked really, really hard on tightening their efficiencies and their buying practices. And I think that some businesses don't survive.
Great. Well, thank you all. I'm going to go to some of the comments and the questions. One comment I'll just read because I think it's an important one. Everyone's important. Hello, everyone. This is Don Rudy with Atlantic Tomorrow's office. They're a managed technology company. COVID and supply chain issues have created delays in getting our customers the copiers and printers they have ordered. We do not have delays in providing document management solutions. As part of our business has actually increased during the pandemic, since it helps remote workers access documents from the office and work more efficiently. So that working at home and having that technology that can be accessed is very, very important. So Don, thank you for sharing that. Mike Murphy wants people to address how elected officials, local, state, and federal reps, what are they doing to address this big picture of supply chain disruption that is affecting everyone, whether it be B2B or B2C? Anyone want to take that? Marina, did you have your hand raised? Or is it just by accident? Peter?
I can tell you in White Plains and in certain areas, the local politicians have been great when it comes to when they allow us to get deliveries. If it's a truck or a tractor trailer, they're trying. The problem is, and we have to remember as business people, we do well when we're structured and all fall in line and there's an efficiency. There's no real efficiency going on right now. But I know a lot of the local municipalities have tried to help out with trucking, but I think it's a more global and national when it comes to the containers and things like that. But I know White Plains has been great when allowing us to open up at different times and put tractor trailers where we couldn't normally.
It's great. Anyone else?
Yeah, one thing that a good take is I think that we found solutions to work around some of the issues and the resourcefulness. Sometimes these things happen, but it creates opportunity. I think, Ellen, you had mentioned now you're looking at other vendors, maybe closer to home. I think there's as being a business owner, a small business owner, that resilience, we don't need, multi-layer approval. We could actually just kind of change the way we do things. And I think this time has really allowed us to rethink our business and saying, I could fix that. I've done this before. I mean, I had two cases. I had one manufacturer that used to make seat cushions when that seat cushion issue happened. And they're like, wait a minute, we know how to do this. We've done this before. We've been in business over 100 years. We had to have made seat cushions at one point, and they started making it. And now I have a vendor that's like 10 to 12 weeks out on manufacturing just by reinventing themselves. And then to Vincent, pooling your orders and ordering larger. I had another vendor that did that. They have a lot of cash on hand. They had a lot of cash on hand and started using that cash as purchasing power to buy, so that they could actually get furniture much quicker than a lot of the other ones that are cash poor. But then even like Tesla doesn't use the microchip. So when the microchip issue happened, all they had to do is reprogram. So those are those exciting things, do some reprogramming because they were not relying on a chip. So sometimes these things happen, but it also makes you think out of the box and be creative and come up with alternative solutions that I think we've all spoken about today.
Great. Joe Kenner, do all of your employees have the opportunity to rise in the organization at Grayston?
Absolutely. The beauty of Grayston is we're a social enterprise that's a hybrid. So we have the for-profit Greyston Bakery, but we also have Greyston Foundation, which provides workforce development and job training. So I always say I'm happy when folks can move up within the bakery, and we've promoted about 9 now in the last year and 4 more in the hopper. But we also like to see people leave and go elsewhere and continue to thrive in their employment trajectory. So we invest in that. We want to see people thrive, whether it's at the bakery or elsewhere, because it's all about giving them opportunity. That's where we always start.
That's great. Anyone else want to comment on career opportunities and moving up the ladder in their own business? Just quickly. Peter, I've seen it at Sam's.
If I may, this is the opportunity. I don't think it's the great resignation. I think it's the great realignment. Larry Gottlieb just asked a question about employment. There's an incredible opportunity. We picked up a chef from Manhattan. He would have never come to Westchester, ever. His family pleaded and he came to Westchester. I could not be happier with our director of catering right now. There's movement in our industry. There's so many opportunities out in the market right now for people to move around, but they're not leaving work. People want to work. It's just not easy to have 2 jobs or to be a significant other or the breadwinner or the primary caretaker for someone when you have COVID and all these other things. But moving up the ranks today, it is the greatest movement going on because I need these people, but they have to have confidence in themselves. We have one of our cafe assistant managers. We closed one of our cafes. She's been with us for 10 years in different positions. And I finally said, I need you in the office, please. She is the admin for the office, the director of catering, the director of operations, assistant. She's on fire, growing.
That's great. Great example. Richard, did you have something or anything else?
No, I think we've covered most everything here. We're seeing some opportunities with our employees being able to take on additional roles. We would not have been able to survive these last 2 years if it wasn't for the great employees that we have at Today Media.
That's great. Well, we have other questions, but we also have a commitment to end promptly at 10 o'clock. And so if anyone has any other questions, I'm sure you could reach out to these wonderful panelists. This has been such a thought-provoking panel and something that brings the supply chain crisis that's happening globally and nationally, but it really brings it home to Westchester County. And so we thank you for sharing. We thank you for your focus on collaboration, on doing business in a different way, on thinking ahead, on being visionary, on helping your community and your competitors even. I mean, that's really, it makes us all stronger. So we hope you've had the opportunity to learn from each other as well as you have shared with everyone else. We thank Tompkins Mahopac Bank, who is a fantastic partner to so many businesses in Westchester County. Always there, a great communicator, a great listener, a great problem solver. And we wish everybody a safe and healthy 2022. Please mark your calendars. As you do know, we did postpone our holiday blast, which was supposed to happen last week, to March 1st. We're really hoping to be able to see each other in person then, March 1st at our, well, we're still calling it a holiday blast. So we'll still dress for the holidays where you're red. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy. Enjoy.
Thank you.